I didn't know. Right. No. I know. She's gonna like, so she's gonna kick me under the table.
Yeah, I know. I'm just checking. All right. Debbie's inside. Sure. Debbie's on. God, here she is. Here we go. All right, let's call the meeting to order.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided by sending such notice to the Asbury Park Press, the Middletown Patch, and the Middletown Township Public Schools District website, and the posting of such notice at the August T. Minor administrative offices at each elementary, middle, and secondary school in the district. Roll call.
Mrs. Caminiti, Mr. DeFranco,
Here.
Mr. Donlin,
Here.
Mr. Dymo,
Present.
Mr. Little,
Here.
Mrs. Miniries,
Yeah.
Mrs. Wright,
Here.
Mrs. Stella,
Here.
Mrs. Ryan.
Okay, I'd like to invite our student speakers up from High School South, Marina Uliano and Michael Dunn, and from High School North, James Davis and Yezemin Yilmaz.
Good evening. My name is Michael Dunn, and I'm a senior at Middletown High School South. It has been a busy month at High School South. It is hard to believe that we are approaching the completion of the first mark year. On October 16th, all sophomores and juniors took the PSAT test. We used that opportunity to educate our freshmen on important topics such as bullying and dangers of drugs and alcohol. Mr. Ledson, High School South's SAC, along with Assistant Principal Jim Rasmussen, and the civic leaders met with the freshmen to address these critical issues. Tori Pater, Courtney Bowl, and Keely Giblin will be screening their film Rose of Jericho in Rome, Italy on November 26th at the Accademia di Belle Arti through John Cabot University. Keely Giblin recently screened her film Clown at AMC Theater in Times Square as part of the All-American High School Film Festival. Respect Week took place on October 7th. There were a variety of respect-related themes throughout the week to reinforce the importance of a positive school climate. Spirit Week was the kickoff of Battle of the Classes. Battle of the Classes will be a year-long competition between grade levels for bragging rights as a class with the most school spirit. Freshman ballot capper training is underway. Mr. Lesson, along with the veteran ballot cappers, are preparing the freshmen to be an important part of this group. 4 of our students attended the Central Jersey Consortium for Excellence and Equity at Monmouth University, along with 2 staff members. There will be another workshop in June at Monmouth University for these student leaders. The first Hall of Fame induction and banquet in 10 years was held on October 12th and was very well attended. It was a wonderful affair, and the plan is to continue this tradition every few years. The first of several student forums with Middletown's Superintendent, Dr. George, took place earlier this month. These forums highlight students' voice and provide the student body with the opportunity to discuss topics related to curricula, operations, athletics, and other areas with district administrators. The regular season for fall athletics is wrapping up. Boys and girls soccer, field hockey, boys and girls cross country were all qualified for the Shore Conference tournament. Girls cross country are the Monmouth County and Shore Conference champions. All of our fall athletic teams qualified for the state tournament, which begins today. Middletown's first girls volleyball team was extremely successful. The girls finished with a 7-3 record. The boys volleyball team will kick their season off this spring. Holiday Express will be giving a holiday concert to many of the district's special education on November 19th in Middletown High School South Gymnasium. World-renowned chef David Burke visited Middletown High School South to work with culinary students and prepare lunch for the school community. During the weekend of November 22nd, Middletown High School South's play titled You, a play by Alexis Kozak, will take place. On December 14th, Middletown South will host the first NCAA signing ceremony for those students who have committed to play a sport at the collegiate level at a Division I or II school. Middletown South students run coffee and bagel shop. Brew Crew is up and running every Friday, block 1 and 2. 8th grade open house took place last week at High School South. This evening was an opportunity for current 8th grade students to tour the building, hear from students and staff, and get excited about becoming a freshman in the not-so-distant future. High School South's journalism students will be holding a Halloween costume contest this Thursday, Halloween. In order to raise awareness for pediatric cancer, along with the Corny Rose Foundation, we will be facilitating a gold out at this Friday's football game. Finally, Middletown High School South's preschool program, Little Eagles, has begun. Thank you.
Hi, my name is James Davis. I'm a senior at Middletown High School North. And with the fall season coming to a close, the football team has a bye week going into their state playoffs. At last Friday's game, 100 years of football was celebrated for Middletown. Mr. Scala and Mr. Beth did an incredible job displaying past memorabilia outside of the upper gym. There was also a pregame ceremony for alumni across all of Middletown that have played over the years. Girls soccer recently beat Mendham today 3-0 in the state tournament. Boys soccer has their first round of states tomorrow against Neptune. The field hockey team finished 8-12 on the year, and they lost in the quarterfinal of the state tournament on last Saturday. Girls tennis finished 9-12, which was one of their best records in the past few years. The boys cross country team recently placed 6th in short conference championships, and the girls placed 14th. Today, for the gymnastics team at High School North, Alyssa Woods, Megan Steely, Brooke Rotundo, and Bella Montanez are representing the team at the Maureen Stefan Memorial Classic at Brick Memorial High School. Today, the TV Film Club hosted their first ever North Horror Film Festival on October 28th, after school for a Halloween fundraiser. Interested students had the opportunity to meet with Dr. George today during Block 3 or 4. Our student government elections will take place this week. There are 4 seniors that are running for president. The student body will have the opportunity to vote after viewing clips of their speeches. Madam Jones and Senora Di Maria hosted an interest meeting last week for students that are interested in taking the sealed literacy test for a placement on their transcripts. Students will need to take the test and pass at the intermediate and mid-level in all 4 skills of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Seniors will take the test in December, and underclassmen will test in April or May. This will be the first time the seal of literacy will be offered to students at both North and South. On October 21st, North hosted an open house for 8th graders who would potentially be coming to North. The Orange Wave marching band and cheerleaders welcomed the students and their parents. The a cappella group performed 2 musical numbers. Sophomore students answered questions for freshmen, incoming freshmen, talking about things like transition and adapting to high school. And student ambassadors gave tours of the schools, and a co-curricular fair was hosted in the media center here. The homecoming dance took place in the cafeteria on October 19th. Andrew Kansky was selected as homecoming king, and Haley Stratton was homecoming queen. It was a great time for me personally, as well as my classmates. All throughout October, Civic Leadership and National Honor Society collected canned goods for the Red Bank Crop Walk, which was on October 20th, in which many students took part on a rainy Sunday. Our band director, Beth Lyon, organized the All Shore Band Festival at High School North on October 17th. 7 bands participated in the event on the turf. 10th and 11th graders took the PSAT on October 16th. Ninth graders participated in a variety of activities during testing, while seniors had the late opening ceremony. North hosted the Haunted Woods on October 12th, which was led by the senior class, and it was a great time for the Middletown community. The junior class also conducted the Happy Trails for younger students. For the week of Respect, which was October 7th through 11th, high school North students and staff participated by the Let's Blue Up Bullying campaign by wearing the color blue in support of the cause. Students put disrespect to rest by wearing lounging pants and sports jerseys all throughout the week as well. Interested parents had the opportunity to attend Financial Aid Night on October 8th. On October 23rd, the new Financial Literacy Club members, which is under the supervision of Doug Flagey, invited financial professionals to speak to interested Middletown residents. And finally, seniors were inducted to the Math Honor Society in a brief ceremony in the Media Center on October 15th under the direction of their advisors, Dr. Tehan and Ms. Dabari. There will be a formal ceremony in the spring when underclassmen are also inducted. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive sessions for matters of personnel, student matters, and HIP.
Can we just add matters of attorney-client privilege,
Okay.
and that minutes will be taken and released if immunity confidentiality no longer exists, and action will be taken before reconvenes in public session.
Okay.
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Congratulations. Trying to transition is hard.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided by sending such notice to the Asbury Park Press, the Middletown Patch, and the Middletown Township Public Schools District website, and posting of such notice at the August T. Minor administrative offices of each elementary, middle, and secondary school in the district. Roll call.
Mrs. Caminiti?
Here.
Mr. DeFranco? Here. Mr. Donlin?
Here.
Mr. Dino?
Here.
Mr. Little?
Here.
Mrs. Minuis?
Here.
Mrs. Wright?
Here.
Mrs. Stella?
Here.
Mrs. Rogers?
Okay, in a moment we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance, but we'll also have a moment of silence to acknowledge the passing of Margaret Peggy Morin, who passed away October 2nd at the age of 68. Mrs. Morin was a teacher at River Plaza Elementary School from September 1973 until her retirement in 2016. And Porshat Shakur, former high school North math teacher from 9/1/2002 through 7/1/2017, and wife of high school South teacher Kevin Hickey, passed away on October 19th after a long battle with cancer. Our condolences go out to the families, friends, and students of Margaret and Porshat.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we will now have our committee reports, starting with technology. And I'd like to thank Mr. Suiak, by the way, for fixing my email to everybody I didn't respond to for the past 2 weeks. I'm sorry.
You're welcome. I have a couple items on for information on today's workshop. First, as you may or may have not noticed, we had our projection screen finally installed here in the North Media Center. It's a retractable screen, obviously it retracts up, and it can display up to 1920 by 1200 native resolution in a widescreen format. Projector is LCD, we don't have the need to go to the lights anymore to make it work. It is also 4K capable. Multiple inputs are obviously for all the devices, but one of the nice features it has the ability to stream wirelessly to it. So our staff and students, with the help of the librarian, can now broadcast right from their devices if they need to stream to the projector screen. Second item I have on our tonight's agenda is Clever usage. For over the past 2 years, the district has been utilizing an application called Clever on all of our devices for students and staff. Basically, what Clever does, it allows a single sign-on for any online application that we use in district. It also allows us to automatically roster our students in proper classes on those applications. So if you ever have seen a student log into a device, the first screen that pops up is Clever and has all the allowable applications, and with one click they can access those sites. A new feature Clever just released, and we just got a copy of it this month, is the ability to have what's called a Clever Analytics tool. The Clever Analytics tool is a tool that provides insight to what our students are actually doing with Clever. So some example interesting usage reports I just pulled this past week. Our most widely utilized applications across the district are Dreambox, Big Ideas Math, iReady, STEM Scopes, BrainPop. Nothing out of the ordinary right there. Some other interesting reports were the most utilization was actually in our middle schools, followed by our high schools. Dreambox across the district is the most widely utilized application in our elementary school, with 72% of our elementary students using it on a regular basis. Our actual grades to second grades are highest, with a 93% utilization rate on a regular basis, with third grade followed with 87%. With speaking of Clever recently, we have a 66% rate of usage across the district, which is higher than normal than all the districts in New Jersey. And it's also well above the national average of Clever usage in schools of our size nationwide. So we are getting our money's worth in the sense that students are actually using the application to provide them. One of the greatest benefits of this now new granular data tool is we can see their usage and fine-tune what grades, what schools get what applications. When it comes time to renewals, we can see which ones are most utilized and which ones aren't, and that can drive our decision to purchase new applications or to renew subscriptions. The last thing I have tonight is the wireless network upgrade. As we mentioned in previous meetings, we were waiting on approval from E-Rate for our wireless upgrade project. The approval has come in and the order has been placed. The equipment has been started to trickle in. So to give you a background, we are upgrading our wireless network across the district. We'll be going from 577 access points to a total of 688. So we're replacing some and adding an additional 111. October 1st, we began running wiring. All the wiring projects have been happening overnight. Not overnight, but second shift, so after dismissal, they're installing wiring. They will be finished with wiring this Friday in all of our 17 schools. This past Friday, we successfully split our wireless controllers and started installing new software. We're going to run that for about 3 weeks, just to test some applications on it and make sure we don't have any failure rates. The purpose of splitting the controllers is that we'll run, during the project, we'll run dual networks. And what that allows us to do is minimize our downtime to nearly zero. So we'll have, as we take an access point from one network, we'll just put it on the next one, and there'll be literally zero downtime. The plan is to start on November 25th to start installing the first access point, and our goal is to have it completed before we break for winter break. Any questions? Thank you.
Oh, actually, we'll come right back to you.
Okay.
Sorry, we're moving to H just for now, strategic planning.
At the request, yes, Mrs. Rogers requested Mrs. Rogers an update from Mr. Rotolo on where we are in the strategic plan with the upcoming, our efforts to recruit, participation, and the outreach that we've done.
Good evening, everybody. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of some of our community outreach efforts for the strategic planning process, including survey and our meetings that we've recently had and upcoming meetings as well. So I'll start by saying we use our school messenger email system. We have the ability to reach about more upward of 11,000 email addresses, stakeholders in the district, teachers, parents, even students in that list, administrative staff, that went out prior to our meetings. We're going to follow up before our November meeting. Using that system again, we'll use that before our December meeting. In terms of media outreach, media coverage, we reached out to the major media outlets in our area, Asbury Park Press, Two River Times, The Patch, Middletown Tap Into, there were a couple of others that we reached out to as well, Model Journal, I believe, the Journal publications. We've also had some great cooperation with the township. Reached out to, early on in the process, reached out to their administrator, Tony Mercantanti, as well as the public information officer of the township, Tara Burson, working with them. They cast a wide net, per se, around our town. They can reach many groups, populations that go beyond just school district stakeholders. So reached out to them. They have they've got us they published our messaging on their district website, as well as on their social media platforms. And for the last month to 5 weeks, I believe, Tara has been publishing our messaging about our upcoming meetings, as well as our survey and their weekly Middletown Minutes email newsletter that goes out on Friday afternoons and evenings. We're also able to work with them recently on the 24th, so last week we worked with the Recreation Department, as well as Becky Stauffer over at the Middletown Senior Center. We'll have a community outreach session there. Dr. George attended, President Pam Rogers was there, Mayor Tony Perry came out, and I know several of the board members were in attendance to really do as much outreach as we could with the senior population in our community. I know it was some of the population we really wanted to reach, so there was some outreach efforts made there. And behind the scenes, we've been working with senior housing communities in town. I've reached out to them, kind of get the notice about meetings, get the survey information out there to them, so they can share that around as well. On our end, with our website, one thing that worked really well for us in the beginning, and we'll utilize that again moving forward, again before our November meeting, before our December meeting, was pop-up messages on our district website and our 17 school websites. It serves that message to a user once they log on for the first time, and then a little icon shows up on their page, sits there, and it lets them know that the second, third, and fourth time when they come back. So kind of serves it to them immediately. I believe it was one resident deemed it as annoying, so at least people were seeing it, which is nice. But that got a pretty large response to the survey when we put that up. And also we've had neat information, and it directs them to our strategic planning landing page that's on our district site. And then we have social media efforts. It's been a weekly effort, again, promoting the survey, promoting our meetings, and that's going to be ongoing. So our Facebook, our Twitter, even our Instagram, trying to reach the students there. We have to go where they are, and the students are on Instagram. So those are kind of our social media efforts. I know we also had a lawn sign campaign. It's that season. People are looking at those types of different intersections, popular places around town for election season. So we've had some lawn signs that we put out there promoting our website, our strategic planning landing page, our meetings, kind of directing everybody to our site where they can find information. And lastly, we've had some outreach. I reached out to our athletics director, Rich Carroll. I sent him a kind of a PSA to be read at athletic events that are coming up, promoting our November and December meetings is what we're focusing on now. So he advised me that the events that are really going to kind of get some traction on that would be football, would be basketball games, would be ice hockey. Those are the games that really, announcements are going to be made. So I'll open it up to any questions. Anybody have any questions about what we're doing, what we're planning on doing?
So the videos from the first forums, I guess the 4 instances are online now, right?
Yes, they are. They're on the strategic planning landing page. There's also a link on our district home page, and we've also included a section in our own district email newsletter that goes out on Fridays as well. We've also put that in there so people can find it.
And then I think the November 13th Forum 2 is going to be at Middletown South. And then December 11th will be at North.
Correct.
So they're only going to be done once. Those Forum 2 and 3 are going to be one event only.
Yes.
November 13th and December 11th again also will be. I think the website, I think the location's obviously right.
Yes, and we have Facebook events that are made for this.
Here's one question.
Yes.
Thank you for all your efforts, by the way. It's been incredible. And I might have missed this during your presentation. I apologize if I did. How many respondents to the survey and how many written responses are we up to now?
So we have approximately, I think it's just under, we may have actually reached 2,700 survey responses, individual survey responses. In that batch of survey responses, we have upward of 10,000 written responses to various questions. So,
And do we have a breakdown, or if you don't have this off the top of your head, that's fine, of the scattering between elementary school families, middle school, high school, and non-school families?
yes, the tool that we use on our website has the ability to do that. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. I can get them to you, but it does break that down.
But yeah, you could circulate that to the board. That would be interesting. Thanks.
Absolutely.
And we have been posting them when you do your updates on the board portal, just so we have them posting them. Might be time for another one, might be better. It's probably about a week since our last one.
Yeah, that's what.
Yep. Yep, latest stuff, great, yeah, good. So again, the November date is a change, right? It's a change, I mean, not the venue.
The venue.
Not the venue. The venue is a change from, it was gonna be at one of the middle schools and now it's going to High School South. So when we're done, we will hit strategically, we will have hit all 5 secondary schools and geographically tried to move around the town as best as we could. For the next level forums, it was also Schoolhouse Strategies thought that to use our high schools to utilize those breakout spaces as needed.
We have better facilities. Like they just better. That ain't right.
More parking, more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now,
Yeah.
they're just better. Yeah, they just have more capabilities.
So better utilize the facilities, correct?
I have a question. People from the community have reached out and want to know, with all the surveys and the questions, are they going to get briefed before the November 13th session? Or are you just going to go there and find out what the comments were and the concerns?
I think that is part of in the script of the second forum. That as was previously discussed, that was the script. That's part of the script for the second forum. Yeah.
And did we as a board get to see those surveys? Or read some of the comments? We haven't seen anything.
Yeah, we actually, the survey is posted on the portal. It was posted on the portal.
I got a copy of the survey from this week, but that's kind of not like reading what people are really saying.
Oh, you mean the comments?
Yeah.
Oh, so speaking, Chris, if you will, speak to the process that we've begun with Schoolhouse, with 10,000 written responses. Schoolhouse Strategy is in the process, and Chris is working with them, and you can explain that, Chris.
Yeah, we've begun mining those responses, really trying to identify trends that are coming up, maybe going a little bit deeper than keywords. I know the Schoolhouse Strategy is focusing on keywords to those responses. I believe they're putting a list together, it's like a top 10. I'm not exactly sure how many they're going to break out, but we are starting to develop, see trends developing in the responses. It was something that I was tracking. Schoolhouse Strategies is now in the mix and kind of taking the lead on that, so we are working together to identify those trends, and we have started to see patterns, which is really helpful.
And we, as an administrative team with our board president, had a meeting, a phone meeting last Friday with Schoolhouse Strategies, and then we had a follow-up meeting with them today into the script, and then Mrs. Gallagher sent the script out.
I didn't get it out yet, but I'll get it out first thing in the morning.
We have the script and the slides that we're going to distribute.
Just came in this weekend, we reviewed it in our meeting today, and it's our intention to get it out as quickly as possible. So we'll have that out to the board tomorrow.
So who's handling all these surveys and comments? Does it go through the district or is it strictly schoolhouse strategies?
So I am taking the comments, I've then circulated them on to Schoolhouse Strategies. I kind of began in the process of setting up how I thought it should look, and now they have kind of taken the reins on it. They're developing the trends.
So is the district getting to, administration getting to see those trends before schoolhouse strategy?
I know we have, yes. I have sent those comments on.
Well, but that, just to clarify, if we're sending the bulk of the comments to Schoolhouse Strategies, they're coming back and providing us the trends. I don't think it would be possible for the district to see the trends before Schoolhouse Strategies, because if Schoolhouse Strategies is aggregating the data and organizing the data into what the trends are, and then reporting them back to us, is my understanding is they're our vendor to do exactly that, right?
That is the process.
Yeah, so.
The trends that we've seen.
Not being run through us, and we're truly letting the company we hired do the job that we paid them to do, and not us jumping in and
Yeah, that's.
being a part of that.
Yeah.
No, I think it's basically a data dump from the survey that you're just sending them mass documents.
Correct.
Yeah, the only part we're seeing is what we've posted on the portal for the board, which are the trends as they relate to the questions. That's it. We haven't been, as an administrative team, we've had absolutely no discussions as it relates to the trends of the written responses. So. All right.
Thank you. I noticed that we have some students here. Would any of you like to speak on any non-agenda items? We'll let you do it now so that you can get out of here in a timely fashion. Oh, look, they're ready. Sorry I didn't notice sooner. If you come up, if you could just state your name, what school you go to, and you'll have 3 minutes per person.
Hi, I'm Victoria Meadow. I go to Middletown High School South, and this is Erin Stage, who's also part of the district. And it has been a huge concern of ours about the attendance policy and the health risks that it institutes. So as you'll be getting a sheet that we have curated from my petition that I started last year, which received over 1,300 signatures within a couple of days from concerned Middletown families. And the points that I want to address today is that the district forces 6 students to attend school because they are afraid of losing credits. And I believe that these meetings also waste district resources by sending these harassing letters and emails to parents. I have been a victim because of my chronic illness, which I thought if I would get a 504 plan, I'd be protected. But no. As a doctor's notes are neither accepted nor required, I believe that the policy encourages healthy students to skip school and take a vacation, essentially. As I said, this is attacking the minority. This is attacking the majority of students who are trying to come to school, and it's inhibiting the minority of students to come into school, to skip school. They are trying whatever they want to do, they are going to do. It does not matter if they are dishonest academically, they will do whatever they want to skip school. So I believe this policy strictly attacks the majority of students who are ill, who are trying to come to school at all costs, and specifically the students who have chronic illnesses, because it is perpetuating an unhealthy and unsafe environment in schools. So as you can see on the bottom, there are a couple of comments that have been made regarding families' concerns about this policy. And on the back, there is the New Jersey Department of Education School Register, which states that schools, districts can have local determinations of excused and unexcused absences. So the argument that this state is mandated by New Jersey law is simply false. So as you see, there are multiple school districts that accept doctor's notes, such as South Orange, Jersey City, Red Bank Regional, Belleville, Long Branch, and Little Silver, and Columbia. So I'm asking, why does this policy aim to affect the minority of students, but punishes the majority who are ill, who are suffering from family emergency, chronic illness, and family death? I'm trying to understand why this policy was implemented in the first place, and trying to see how, as a district, we have improved academically with student performance.
Hi, I'm Erin States. I'm technically a student at Middletown South. First off, I'd like to say that I went to Middletown North, and then due to my mental illness, I had to stop. I was on home instruction for a year, and then I did the online program, which was denied from me until we emailed Dr. George, and it was given to us finally. I attempted to go to Middletown South, only recently failing and having to go back to online. So technically this doesn't completely affect me. I'm not going there, but my friends are. And you're allowing 6 students to go to school. In the 2017-2018 season, influenza killed roughly 80,000 people in the United States. As of October 3rd, 2019, there have been 19 confirmed cases of measles in New Jersey, 12 of those cases in Ocean County. The most recent being rash onset on October 1st, 2019, so it's recent. This is something that's going to affect people later. It's going to affect children who soon go to high school, going to school because they have to, and then getting others sick. Some who can't get vaccines or anything due to medical issues. 2017 to 2018 influenza, between the ages of 5 to 17 years old, systematic illness killed 7,512,601 kids. There were 3,906,553 medical visits, 20,599 hospital visits, and 500 deaths in the U.S. From between the ages of 5 to 17 due to influenza, which is spread through germs. A kid who has the germ, who's sick, because they have to be here, have to go to school, they touch a doorknob, and then tens of other students touch the doorknob. They sit at a desk, every other student touches the desk. And it spreads, and they get sick, and then they die. There were 6 fatal New Jersey pediatric deaths in the 2018-2019 season. 56 cases were severe, and in total U.S. there were 106 fatal cases. In the 2019 year, 186 pediatric deaths were classified. It's dangerous, and it's hurting students by letting them go and get sick and spread the illness, and that's a problem. And yeah, so.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from up here? Okay, thank you so much. Okay,
we'll continue with the committee reports.
Yeah, thank you.
Special Student Services.
Good evening, everyone. So the information items, we have 2 information items. One, the Middletown Township Friends of Diverse Learners is hosting a presentation on inclusive education right here in the library at High School North on Monday, November 18th at 6:30. They have invited Fred Buglione, the president and founder of New Jersey Coalition for Inclusive Education, to come and present. The first CPAC planning meeting between the co-leaders of CPAC and administration will take place on the morning of October 31st so that we can plan for the remainder of the school year. For voting items, you have a number of students being approved for home instruction and then a few out-of-district placements. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Curriculum and instruction.
Good evening, everyone. First, we would like to provide an update for the board and the community, our spring 2019 access results. This pertains to our ELL students, and Ms. Shaw, who directs and oversees that program, is here to discuss some of that information.
Thank you. So you have a packet that you can look through at your leisure. This is our third year of our ESL Magnet program within the district. This move towards a magnet program came on the heels of a recommendation from the state for a better delivery of efficient and effective ESL services. So we did take that under advisement 3 years ago, and we moved towards that structure, and it has been very successful over the last 3 years. We have 3 magnet elementary schools for the current school year, Middletown Village, Fairview Elementary, and Leonardo Grade School. Leonardo Grade School and Middletown Village take in students from other senders within the elementary level, and Fairview retains its own population because it has historically had the highest natural organic population of ESL students within the district. Our middle school magnet is Bayshore Middle School, and our high school is North. We found by doing a study over the course of time that most of our students are organic populations of the Bayshore area and also High School North. So our goal was to retain as many students in their home school and middle and high schools as possible. So as I said, our results have seen a great deal of success in regards to recouping some language for our English as a second language learners. 2 pieces of positive information that I do want to highlight is over the course of the 3 years, we've had a higher rate of magnet acceptance each year because we are capturing more kindergarten as they come through registration and placing them in a magnet school prior to starting in their neighborhood elementary. The other piece of positive information is that we've had a steady rate of exit over the course of the 3 years. Usually we hover around 20 high teens in our exit rate, which is really good for what the state deems as appropriate language recoupment, and that's one level of language proficiency each year. The other thing I want to highlight is that although not all students are recouping one level of language each year, because as time goes on and they get into the higher elementary grades, middle and high school, it does become more difficult to recoup that language level. We do have, over the course of time, an 86% increase in our students and their language growth. So our stats are very positive. It is definitely a product of the movement towards magnet and having our ESL teachers concentrated with those populations and working with them on a regular basis. So that's about it. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Caruso is going to provide an update on our AP course enrollment and exam registrations.
I believe you've been getting updates on the Friday reports of the statistics for the AP courses. Well, as of 12 o'clock today, it's a little different than on your most recent form. There are 957 students between the 2 high schools enrolled in 2,142 AP classes. Of those, 1,342 exams are planned to be taken this year. 62.7% of the exams that could be taken are being taken, 30% are students said no, and 7.3% are undecided. Okay. In comparison to last year, where we had 826 exams taken, that's a sizable increase. Unrelated item, 25 students filed for financial assistance to pay for the AP exam fees. Those 25 students involved 68 tests. For the free and reduced lunch students, we will be paying the cost of those tests. And for the students who are not free and reduced lunch, we are going to defray the cost of the test by bringing the cost down to what a free and reduced lunch child who did not file for financial assistance is paying. And we thought that was a fair compromise. So, any questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, our Middletown High School Academy and Pathway Information Fair is scheduled for middle school students and their families on Wednesday, December 4th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. here at High School North. We like to rotate that event each year, so last year was at South, this year will be at North. That's an opportunity for our middle school students to learn more about our high school pathways, STEM, GLP3, government law and public policy, and also our business academy, as well as dual enrollment, AP, and early college type accrual of credits. We have had great attendance over the last 2 years that we've been hosting that event, and the directors are working with the building level administrators to organize an informative event again this year. We do have some new course proposals. We just wanted to brief the board because you will be seeing once they are written. We're going to go into further conversation at our next curriculum committee meeting, but we just wanted to let the board know, the full board know, that we are moving along with our initiative to increase access to college credit during a high school experience. You know, that's been a big initiative for the district to help defray the cost of college costs for our families by accruing college credit while they're also pursuing their high school degree. So in replacing an older course that we actually didn't even run this year because it has a complement at an AP level, we did in previous years, prior to this year, offer a full year government and politics course. It was not weighted as AP or honors, but because we have an AP level now, we were seeing some under enrollment in the traditional regular CP level. So in lieu of that course, we did survey our high school students. We had great participation by our students, so thank you. Students, for giving us your honest and candid feedback in terms of what the coursework is you are looking for. We had 2 courses that significantly received feedback from students as it's something that they were interested in pursuing. And both, after a lot of conversation with colleges, we were able to offer as dual enrollment. So we will be writing in partnership with Seton Hall University curriculum that they're going to assist us with developing at no cost. An abnormal psychology dual enrollment course. We have high numbers of students pursuing enrollment in psychology courses in general psych, and this will be a really good complement to that. And we're also going to be offering, in conjunction with Keene University, a dual enrollment course, the Holocaust, Genocide, and Modern Humanity. We do feel that that is something not only did the students have interest in, but when we did our equity plan review last year, we did notice that, and you saw, because we did an action review of that, and the one area where the district needed to work to develop more coursework and curriculum and integration was in the instruction of the Holocaust. So we were actually pleased to see that the students' needs and requests and interest matched something that we had identified through a state process as an area where we needed to grow. So talk about like perfect storm and good opportunity. And Keene is, as I said, looking to partner with us as offering it as a dual enrollment course. The third course, which we will be writing and introducing as a new course in our course selection guide that will probably come out in December, correct, Mrs. Caruso? Course selection guide. You know that we're on track to introduce a new semester course for our Arts Academy for our digital media students. That, after surveying our digital media and Arts Academy students, the interest was in video game art and design. It will be offered as an honors course for students in the Arts Academy, and if there is any available enrollment, it is then offered to any student at High School North, where the Arts Academy is housed, to also then enroll in. Any questions about those?
What does that mean in the Arts Academy honors? Does that mean that you get honors credit, but anyone in the Arts Academy who's in that track can take it? In other words, Arts Academy is not as, what does that mean exactly?
So the digital media students within the Arts Academy are given first preference for enrollment into the course, or first priority.
They don't have to be honor students, or does it matter?
Nope.
That's just the weighting?
It's the weighting of the course because it is a rigorous curriculum.
And if you're not in the Arts Academy, what background do you have to have? Is it first come, first serve, or do you have to have certain courses to get into it?
Typically, we will look at prerequisite coursework to make sure that you have, because the Arts Academy curriculum is a curriculum that builds upon previous coursework.
Right.
So there will be some expectation that students can demonstrate they have a solid foundation of knowledge and skills.
Okay.
And then those students will be given first priority if there's available space in the course.
About how many kids are?
Usually we run, well, this is a computer course, so it might be as low as 20, but typically we'll run anywhere between 20 and 25. Our labs are equipped with devices and technology to accommodate that.
And one other question, so if you're opening up to kids, so if the Arts Academy is here, this building?
Yes.
So if I'm at South, I can come and take it?
If there is available space, we have the senior ability to travel, yes.
Okay.
Yep. And if it fits into a student schedule.
Kim,
Yes.
is that a dual enrollment course?
No, that is not going to be, right now it's not projected. We are looking into the opportunity.
And who would you be looking for?
Right now, I think she's kind of, she's working it to see what she can do. Yeah, Mrs. Morales.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see, our next curriculum committee meeting, I know we've adjusted the time to accommodate and to ensure that the curriculum directors, as well as the members of the board who would like to attend the inclusion workshop on November 18th. So we are moving the time, the start time of the curriculum committee meeting on November 18th to 5:30, an hour earlier, and it's going to be here at High School North. And that's again to accommodate anyone who, and the curriculum directors do want to attend the inclusion workshop.
I have a question. We finally got a curriculum committee meeting at 6:30, and I'm grateful that you took the opportunity, because we all need to go to inclusion. 5:30 is too early for me to go. Why can't we do it on another day? Why do we keep jamming things into one day and making the times earlier and earlier so the board members can attend?
It wasn't purposeful. I think Mrs. Stellan and I discussed the fact that there had been requests and talk about being able to participate.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with that, but I would like to attend one curriculum committee meeting. All last year, they were at 4 and 5 o'clock. I talked to Mrs. Steller, this one she said she made in mind that I could make it, and now it's back to 5:30 again. Why can't we do it on another day?
We didn't discuss that.
Yeah, I mean, we could discuss it.
Yeah, we could discuss it. It wasn't purposeful. We just thought the date had already been planned and people had set aside time. And November is a short, choppy month. And we didn't want to delay it any further. I think that was, we just thought that we could move it up and then accommodate everyone, and we would move it to here, and it'd be a natural segue into the workshop.
Directors to all go to the inclusion workshop, but I'm open to.
Well, they should be
Yeah.
going. We should be encouraging them to go anyway. We should be encouraging the curriculum committee to go.
Yeah, I mean, it was really just about, we had delayed it, and it was the first opportunity we had to schedule a meeting, and we just didn't want to delay it anymore.
I was also very late in replying to you because I wasn't getting any emails. I switched phones to the whole thing. I just thought my life was nice and calm for a couple of weeks, and
It was a couple of days that she had delayed getting, when it had
I
come
wasn't
up.
getting any emails at all. So anyway, I'm open to, you and I can email tomorrow, and then we'll throw some
Yeah, it wasn't
things
any
around.
purposeful. We had talked about it, Joan, at the convention. You had brought it up that the inclusion workshop was going to be off around the 18th. I wasn't aware, and I confirmed that with Dr. Tiedemann, and then, Robin and I were kind of playing phone tag, but she was incognito because of her email issues. So it wasn't purposeful that we were,
No, but we'll Sheena kind of come up with another date or two, and we'll throw them around to the committee.
Because I really do think, and I'm going to probably bring this up later, that we're volunteers. We need to be considered. Somebody needs to ask us our availability, not just schedule meetings when we can't make them.
So voting items tonight on the agenda, we have the partnership agreement with Monmouth University. That is a yearly renewal so that we can host student teachers and interns, whether they be undergrad or students working towards their master's degrees for teaching, and they have to do student teaching placements. The other is an affiliation agreement with Baylor University, and we had a specific request from students pursuing who are enrolling in speech internships. And if you know Staffing in education, speech is of a high demand, low candidate pool at this point, nationwide. So we, of course, we jumped on the fact to host some speech interns here in Middletown. And then there's the monthly professional development, homeschooling notifications, field trip destinations, and the one other annual yearly agreement participation is with the Monmouth County Arts Program, and that's for an after-school arts program that is totally funded by the parents and their students. We just agreed to release some of our students a few minutes early so that they can get over in time to participate. But it's an after-school funded by parents.
Mrs. Pegas, I have a question about the Baylor affiliation agreement. That's far away. So how are we getting the candidates to come up here? Are they local folks that attend down there? Or?
Local, they could be doing online coursework, but some of them also, when you go to do your internship, you're not doing corresponding coursework. It's almost like coursework has been completed and now you're just looking to fulfill your internship hours, and some of them are students who live here in New Jersey.
And is Baylor known for its speech?
It does have a large speech education program.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't either until I looked into it. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. On the Monmouth County, the Monmouth University Partnership Agreement, you said it's a yearly agreement, right?
They send it to us, and sometimes it would be a couple times throughout the year because it may be different types of student teaching placements or internships. For example, if we have a school psychologist unique from a classroom teacher, sometimes they'll send us a separate agreement.
The reason I asked is the timeline. If you go to paragraph 4, the timeline says it's from 2019 through 2025.
Is that one of them sent? Oh, Cheryl left. That might be the one unique to just classroom teachers, which is why it's a multi-year program. The ones that are unique to more specific fields, like I mentioned, I know the school psychology internships, we usually get those per candidate. Sometimes they're unique to the candidate.
Okay.
There's no way that any of these people are being taken out of the district when they're supposed to be during the school day.
These are not employees.
Well, I just want to make sure, because I read a part in there about being available at the times of the employee.
That's the host teacher who is mentoring the student teacher, just that they make themselves available during their prep to work with the student teacher to develop lesson plans. And sometimes they also meet during their prep with the, during the time at the beginning of the day when the staff is in but the students aren't in yet, to meet with the supervisor of the student teacher.
So in no way we're pulling them out of the classrooms.
That's not my understanding or the expectation for student teacher mentors. Thank you.
I just wanted to, I guess I'll do it under new business, but a question regarding elementary school assessments for reading. I guess I can just do it under new business.
We can do it here.
I don't know, it affects curriculum. Some parents have been talking about, in terms of elementary school, you get DRA or F&P type assessments in October. Not all that stuff makes it into the child's report card. And we do all the assessments, we have link it and all that stuff. And some parents are asking to go to some PTA meetings and whatnot. Why can't they get that assessment information and a little bit of verbiage about what that means? In other words, we're doing all this work and we're having all these profiles and these SGOs and all this stuff. Can they get that information, whether it's report card or not report card? Is that something that we've ever thought about? Because my understanding is in high school, there's a lot more feedback through the portal, through conversations with teachers, and maybe the elementary school we can kind of.
I think that's, well, thank you for bringing that up. I think that's a very good topic, and I will certainly relay that back to the curriculum directors. That has been a topic of discussion in the past. When we were developing the new report cards, the report card committee did weigh that topic very heavily, but I think it is time to revisit that and look to do something differently to inform our parents.
Should we put that under new business? Should I repeat that, or is that something the curriculum committee can do?
I think it's definitely something we should add to our next curriculum committee meeting.
The agenda for
yeah, and then we can provide feedback to the full board after that.
Thank you.
But thank you for bringing that up. It's a good topic. Thank you.
Thanks. Facilities and Finance?
We have a couple of updates for the board. The continuing story on our High School South Challenge course project that we've been trying to procure a vendor for to do the necessary repairs and rebuilding of that course. As you know, we've gone through 2 bid processes. We have not been successful in having a successful bid that was within budget. We are now, at this point, working on soliciting a proposal through a negotiations process with a vendor that's qualified, to do work here in New Jersey. We've talked about the requirements from the state for this public works contractor and what they need to do. So we've put out a proposal, and we're looking to get that back on November 14th, and we will see if we can get something that will be compliant with what we need and close enough to the original bid specs that we would not have a deviation there. And if we're not successful in doing that, I'll probably be talking to Mr. Taylor about what my next steps will be. So that's where we are with that. As far as the next item, FirstNet, we just wanted to let the board know that we have a new cell phone plan in the district, and it's not just a cell phone plan. We've gone from Verizon to AT&T, but this FirstNet is a particular network that guarantees priority and preemption over with their network. So during an incident where commercial networks could be flooded with calls and traffic, this network actually is secure, so that we would have better access and be able to keep our communication going when other networks may crash because of the overload. So we thought that was a benefit. They also provide first access to necessary resources through the automatic preemption capabilities of that network over not other networks. So it was not only a good plan for us overall fiscally. We've actually increased we didn't increase the amount of phones, but we now have capability for the facilities department. They were currently still on a voice only, if you can believe it, no smartphone capabilities, and we wanted them to have smartphone capabilities so they could do things like access the work order system right from their phone. They could look up things. Sometimes even the maintenance people will Google, troubleshoot certain things. So it just, in this day and age, it just made sense for them to have that resource. So we were able to switch them over to that and get a better network. So we were happy about that. As far as the finance items go, we had talked, I guess 2 meetings ago, about the fact that we had been notified by Standard & Poor's that they were taking another look at our bond rating, and they needed more information. So as I told the board, we had a call scheduled to go over specifics about our financial situation, and they took that back to their committee, and as a result of that call, they have reaffirmed our current rating. There was no change in our rating, so we are still AA- for our bond rating, which was good news for us. We also had a small change in our interest rate, and I'm just keeping you apprised, because sometimes we talk about interest and what impact that is. So we had a interest rate previously of 1.25%, but because of the change in the market rates and so forth, we've been reduced now to 1.15%. But we'll keep you posted on any further changes. We had negotiated about a year and a half ago or so a reduction in our fees and an increase in our rate and so forth. So we do keep an eye on that and look to see if it at some point does it make sense to go out for proposals for banking services. At this point, that's a big undertaking. We are keeping an eye on it, but do try to get them to be as competitive as possible. For those of you who don't know, we have TD. So. Voting agenda items, we have our financial reports for this month. We have a security services bid. I just wanted to make sure everybody was clear. It says non-public. That's not for us. That's for non-public security funds. So that is an award for one of our non-public schools in the district. We also have a disposal of some surplus property, a couple of very old golf carts that we use on campus, and a kiln. We also have under the report of the superintendent our annual approval of our comprehensive maintenance plan, and we are required to submit
It's called a Form M1 to the county each year, and basically the purpose of that form is to make sure we are budgeting enough in the area of maintenance, that we're not shortchanging that, so we have to break down by building, you know, what our anticipated budget is for next year. They just want to make sure that we are putting enough resources into those areas. So, you know, for the purposes of this form, you know, we submit that we take, you know, the current year budget, and, you know, just because we're early in the process, we haven't done our budget yet, but we're anticipating, you know, it would be approximately a 2% increase overall, including salaries in that area and so forth for next year. So, and, you know, they compare that to our maintenance reserve account amount and what we're allowed to have in maintenance reserve. So just to give you some idea, our maximum maintenance reserve would be equal to 4% of our building replacement value, which equates to about $7.7 million. We have $555,000 in our maintenance reserve, so we're well within the parameters or the maximum of our maintenance account. So that's just something we have to submit by November 15th every year. And that's all we have under facilities and finance. And I'm talking to Mr. Little, and we will have probably a meeting sometime in November. We'll set a date.
I have a question. Are we really getting a turf field at Nut Swamp on the grass field?
I mean, that's not
Has that been
something that
decided?
we haven't had any further discussions on that besides what's been reported through the Shared Services Committee. It's not.
So nobody agreed to that yet? The district didn't agree to that yet?
I don't know anything more on that except for the fact that it was discussed.
I didn't realize it was discussed. I read it in the update and was kind of wondering when it was discussed and who decided.
We haven't seen anything more on it.
So as part of the Normandy Park proposal that the township has been putting together, and I'll just caveat this by saying that this is 2-month-old information,
right,
because they canceled the last 2 meetings. So it's almost 3-month-old information. But they were putting together a comprehensive look at all the facilities, including the turf, the grass field there. But as Andy said, we have not heard anything concrete about them doing something. The last we heard, they were looking at it, they were talking about cost, but they didn't come back to us, and we haven't met with them. We were supposed to have a meeting this past month, and it was canceled sort of the last minute. So I'm as in the dark as you are about any kind
Yeah, I'm
of
just curious because when I read it in the update, I was like, wow, I didn't know about that, and when did that get discussed?
We'll look for an update from them. We were talking, you know, we're trying to have a meeting in November. We just, you know, actually Mrs. Wright and I were just talking that our normal meeting date would be falling on Veterans Day, so we're going to have to contact them and see when we can meet in November. But that's something that we'll get an update on if they've gone any further, but we haven't received anything.
Are there offices open on Veterans Day too?
I'm thinking that they're not,
I
but I
don't
don't know
have
for sure.
school on Veterans Day, but Middletown does, so it's, you know.
I'm thinking they're probably closed, so. Yeah, the
Right.
last month it was Columbus Day, so we'll, you know, right, but we'll try to set another date in November for the meeting, and we'll get an update.
Yeah, and if there's enough to talk about, then we'll have the meeting, but there's no reason to have a shared services meeting if we don't have anything to discuss, and that's kind of what happened the last 2 times. They had nothing to bring to the table, and we had nothing to bring to the table. That's why that got canceled. It's not, you know, any surprise.
I'm not saying anything about being
Yeah.
canceled, I just wanted to know about the turf field.
Yeah. Right. So policy?
We did have a committee meeting, and we reviewed some revisions to some policies, and we also talked about, I don't know, Mr. Dolan, if you want me to give the report, or if you want to give the report, but.
Well, the only thing I would say is that the outcome of the meeting was that, one of the outcomes of the meeting was that we were going to take the policy in its grand booklet and say, let's start working on certain parts of it. So what we've done is we've taken the first section, which included 56 pages of policies, and we've asked the policy committee to review it and see if there's any recommended changes that we should bring back to the board. And that's where we're at.
Right, we took policies, I think, that were dated 2010 or before.
Yes.
Right, yeah. So that's what the committee is doing, and in addition to that, we have several policies on the agenda for first readings. The one on class rank and the one on the student random drug and alcohol testing are not Strauss Esme generated changes. They are changes that the district is looking to make, and we went over that in the committee. And then the balance of the policies are recommendations from Strauss Esme to update for changes in language and updates to references and so forth. They're not major changes, and we've made those all available to the board to take a look at.
The random drug and alcohol testing, if I read it correctly, it's mostly around students who request parking or who have senior parking. Is that the changes that were made around? I'm not talking about the policies, I'm just looking at the parts and machines. Is that what has to do with?
Right, I'm not as familiar with that one. I don't know if Dr. George, did you get the update on that, or Mr. Vanilla?
Mr. Bell.
So the change on the random drug and alcohol.
You could click.
It focuses on, instead of doing urine testing, which we've done in the past, we're now changing to a saliva test, so it's less intrusive. So that's really, so we had to change the regulation and the policy and remove the urine to a substance stream. So that allows us to do the saliva test.
Right now, was the students who applied for senior parking added, or was that always?
That's always been on there.
It's always been part of the policy. Okay. Now, why is I'm sorry, so it's not as intrusive, is it as accurate?
Yes, it is. Accuracy is relatively the same as the urine.
Okay.
And it was less invasive.
Absolutely.
Mr. Renell.
So again, these are first readings, they're not adoptions, so if the board has any other feedback on them between now and the next meeting.
And one other thing, I think the class rank is the one where, I guess not starting this year, 2 years from now, I guess if you take an AP test and you don't take the test, you go down to honors waiting. So there's a go from one.
Current seniors are grandfathered.
It said 1.3 or something.
Current
1.2.
juniors and seniors are currently grandfathered. This is what we
So 2
had.
years ago.
After doing our listening tours with students in the community last year, and the recommendations they had and the suggestions they had offered when we did some revisions, this was the final determination. So we weren't sure if we were going to be changing other things about class rank. But we know now in September we won't be. So we put this on there, and that is, it's exempting current juniors and seniors. But it does begin this year with implementation with freshmen and sophomores. And it's for pursuing college credit is equal to then applied college weight.
So in other words, if I take an AP test and I don't take the test, I get honors weighting, not AP weighting.
If I take the AP class, yes.
What's the weighting difference, like, what's the numbers?
1.2 versus 1.3, it's a tenth of a point, yeah.
Okay. Student activities?
So there's two voting items on this evening. The first is the annual board approval of the nursing services plan. This is based off of medical needs and the staffing of our students and our staff in the health office. And also the Monmouth University Research Study. Charles Tarafenko, Monmouth University doctoral candidate and director of Homeland Security and Counterterrorism for the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office, is bringing an opioid use prevention program to the high schools. He's going to be working with Devin Orozco, who oversees the health and phys ed, to implement the program. They're looking to put it in either the 11th or 12th grade health curriculum. And the district will have the results, and Mr. Tarafenko will be using the data for his research. It will all be anonymous. Any questions?
Has anybody reviewed the nursing report? Usually someone from the board reviews that. Has anybody done that?
Yes.
Yeah, Mrs. Walker reviewed
I think she posted on the board.
I'm asking the board members.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have not, but Mr. Rennell was saying it's on the portal, so it was available to
The
him.
report is like this then, on the portal.
I think it's easier on the portal than Slack.
I think it's easier on the portal.
I don't know, to me, it's that you can like scroll or swipe.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
We're voting on it tonight, so it doesn't matter.
We can table it, can we not?
I'm not sure if there's a due date for that with the county. Normally there's, I don't know off the top of my head, but we would have to find out if there's a due date.
Is this something that falls under administrative duties, or is it's not
Yes.
our duty anyway, so, okay.
You're voting on it, you should know what's in it. Yeah, everyone should know what's in it, voting on it.
Right.
If it was just administrative, we wouldn't have to vote.
So if I may, just board members, the reality is this is a $100 million district. You charge your superintendent and administration with the day-to-day running of the organization. Board members aren't expected or required to read every page of the document. If you're comfortable with the recommendation of the administration on this item, perhaps if there are questions and a brief summary of it, that would be sufficient. But I just don't want there to be an impression that the board is expected to read, again, every page of every item that's on the agenda, because I would submit that it probably doesn't happen on a monthly basis and everything. And you're operating in accordance with the law.
I'm just refreshed my memory of a conversation that Mrs. Walker did tell us that this is not something that requires a board vote. We actually can just submit it without a board vote, but we do put it on the agenda every year just so the board is aware of it, and just to kind of raise the profile of it. But it is actually something that if the board doesn't vote, it can be submitted without that. So if the board doesn't wish to vote on it, we can still submit it.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
So if you want to table it, that's fine, or remove it, it's up to the board, but we can still submit it.
I think we should remove it so that if board members aren't comfortable voting on something they haven't read, that way, if we just remove it, it's better.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes from executive session 9:25:19 and the regular voting meeting from 9:25:19.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Oh, so we should, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I need to open,
I need to open public comment on agenda items only. I thought we did everybody, but we just did the kids, so.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. Rachel Kanofka. I just had two quick things, agenda specific. One, I know it's under old business for the agenda, the Taylor Lane development, and what to do with those kids that are eventually going to move in there. And I don't have a recommendation, and I know nothing is going to be voted on tonight. I was wondering though, procedurally, from a bigger picture perspective, if there was an opportunity to speak to the township, specifically the planning board, and figure out if moving forward, there's a way to insert a step into their process to communicate to the Board of Ed that there is a development under consideration and that at some point there are going to be kids who need to go to school. It seems like sometimes these things are kind of creeping up on the Board of Ed and you're not aware of them, whereas, you know, on the township side, they obviously are, specifically the planning board. And I know legally, I don't believe there's a way to require that the planning board can't approve of, you know, an application until the kids are determined, but at least a heads up, I feel like would be reasonable to include in their process. When they have something in front of them that they are going to be voting on that will affect the demand on the school system, that they make you guys aware of it well before it kind of, the buildings are getting built and sold. So maybe for shared services, I'm not exactly sure when that would be discussed, but I just feel like that might help prevent issues like this from coming up in the future, especially given that everybody's very concerned about development and the impact on the school system, et cetera. So that was my first comment. The second one has to do with one of the policies that's on the agenda for tonight. specifically R8600, which has to do with transportation. I noticed that one of the edits, it's under school bus use and standards A on page 6 of 7 of that specific policy. It changes the language about seatbelts, and I tried to quickly look up NJSA 39:3B-10 to see what it's saying we should now abide by, and it seems to me like, based on my very quick reading of this, that it's requiring that any time a kid is on a bus that is being operated during the school day for the district or for a school-related purpose, that they need to have a lap belt, which makes sense. My issue, and I brought this up a few years ago when my little one was taking a school trip, I think up to Liberty Science Center, they took a coach bus that had no seatbelts. And as a parent, it freaks me out. Like I'm terrified of the idea of my kid being on the parkway with no seatbelt on. So I just wanted to ask if the changes to this policy now require that any bus that our kids are getting on as part of a school trip or getting transported to or from school or a school activity will require seatbelts, at least lap belts for the kids.
The way I read it, I thought it was.
I'm just trying to find, which paragraph were you talking about?
Oh, here, I can show you. It's under...
You said 6 of 7?
It's on page 6 of 7A, paragraph A, the very first one. So it's changing the language to say, shall be, instead of saying equipped with seatbelts, it said shall be equipped in accordance with the requirements of NJSA 39:3B-10. So when I pulled that up quickly to try to read it, it's a lot of legalese, so it's not entirely clear. But it seems to me like that, whatever it is.
My understanding was that it applied to school buses.
Okay.
It wouldn't be coach, we wouldn't be purchasing
Or
coach
bidding.
buses.
Yeah, and I guess that's where I wasn't
Right.
clear where the line was, because obviously we're securing these other vendors to do school-related trips, and I understand it's not the same as transporting the kids to and from actual school. To the extent that this is the appropriate time to bring it up, I do feel very strongly about the coach bus thing, and I recognize that not all coach buses are equipped with the seatbelts, and there's kind of like a grandfathering thing going in with some of the federal regulations about when these coach buses need to have the seatbelts. But to the extent we have any leverage, and kind of, even if it's not an official policy, like a recommendation to anybody who is getting getting buses for our kids, especially ones that are traveling on highways, that we try to get those people, the buses that have seatbelts for those students. Or make the parents aware if their kid is going to be getting on a bus that does not have a seatbelt as part of a school trip, that the parents are aware of it in advance.
We can discuss that amongst the policy committee.
Thank you.
Amy, I remember that conversation. I thought, Dr. George, you and I discussed that, and that we reached out to the bus company and told the principals that it's not acceptable.
For the coach buses.
For the coach buses, yes.
Right, that's just not, right, and that may be the case here in the district, but, as far as what the reference for the policies.
Wherever possible. Yep. That's correct. And we can do that in our principals meetings, which we have coming up again, reiterate that position.
If the board felt, we could actually even revise the regulation to not reference this legal site, but, if we could, we would have the option to say when possible, to put basically what you said in writing into the regulation. We could do that if we wanted to.
But if you're going to say when
possible or required?
Well, that would be,
Well, the question would be, from a policy standpoint, the board has the authority to establish policies. The regulations, which is the subject of the question under subsection A, page 6 of 7, are created by the administration in order to comply with the policies and carry it out. So the regulation technically doesn't need to be approved by the board. Sometimes it's done out of a courtesy to say know what the regs are. But as long as the regulation is consistent with the law, that's really what the standard is. If the board, and I don't know if the law requires a seatbelt or not per se, but if the law, off the top of my head, but if the law, let's say, doesn't require a seatbelt, and the board wants to have that requirement, then you would have to essentially provide the funding to equip your buses that you may own, and or to perhaps be prepared to pay additional funds to other company that responds to your bids, because they may not have buses equipped with seatbelts. I don't know.
But what she was talking about wasn't a thing about bids, because wasn't that a school trip? That a school trip is something that we go out and buy.
The seatbelts, The issue is when buses are hired that aren't school buses.
Can't we
when they're
just make a
coach buses.
requirement that we just want whoever hires in our policy, they must rent a bus that has seatbelts?
I mean, if you require it, I mean, and we had the discussion before, it just makes it, and I know there's pros and cons to this, but securing buses, you would just sometimes make it more difficult in some cases to secure a bus for a trip.
But
I'm not saying
Right.
that seatbelts aren't a good thing. I'm just saying that if you absolutely require it, and that there can't be a bus can't be obtained, a coach bus with the belts.
The
then
kids might not
they would
go
not
on
be
the
able to
trip.
go on the trip. Right. That was summarizing the discussion that we had.
Maybe
about
make it
this
age,
previously.
because if they're going to DC or something, they're gonna have to use like a regular bus company. I don't remember, I mean, I'm trying to think of one on the bus that have seatbelts on any of those buses. Because you go to DC, you're not gonna get, I mean, school bus would
Coach
be
USA
like
charter
first choice.
buses, our swim team uses Coach USA, and the coach buses do have.
They do.
Seatbelts on, so it's, I would imagine as more clients demand seatbelts, that they get added to newer buses or not at all on the buses. So, I mean, it may be a deterrent in some cases, but it seems to make a lot of sense.
No, and that is what we're already doing.
Yeah.
Like Dr. George said, the principals have been told to obtain those buses. So I don't know that they're not all, I don't know that they don't all have seatbelts on.
Whenever possible.
Yeah.
And I know a few years ago, when those big accidents happened, that a lot of pressure was put on these bus companies to install seatbelts, or kids wouldn't be riding them.
So I guess just so we're clear, the policy, the regulation as it reads now requires the use of seatbelts when buses are so equipped. And that's in paragraph B of the regulation. This is the first reading, so this is a good discussion. If the board's preference is to make that a requirement, then that language should be incorporated into the policy itself. That's my recommendation. So that's something for you to consider. You don't have to decide this evening, but you may want to consider it, I guess, in light of the feasibility of that. You know, you have a trip to Liberty Science Center, and if the bus vendor that's been approved by this board, let's say tonight for next month, and if next month comes and that vendor doesn't have a bus available, as long as you're prepared for that trip to be canceled, then that's your prerogative. But if you're not, because the law doesn't require it per se, if you want to keep it when possible, that gives you a leeway to still approve these trips, which may be instructional in nature, et cetera, without having to cancel them if a vendor, which you have no direct control over, does not have the access to that bus with a seatbelt on.
Is there a way for us to reach out to the bus companies and find out if the seatbelts are available? How many companies don't have them?
Well, when they're booking the trips, they are reaching out to, and
they're-
like I said, I don't know that I don't know that they're not getting it every time. I mean, you know, I guess we could find out from the principals, you know, that if they're getting.
Yep, we
the
just
ball
added it
buses,
to
right?
our principal committee meetings, which we have over the next couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps the policy could say exactly that when they're available, we'll have seatbelts when available, but if they're not, we'll contact the parents to tell them.
Right, well, I think, like Dr. George has said, useful information might be, and we can get that this week from the principals, you know,
Yeah.
do we even have any instances at this point where they don't?
Okay, and then we'll discuss this in the policy committee meeting. We haven't scheduled one yet, but.
We haven't scheduled one yet, so.
Or they can update, or it's
Or we could just, if we don't meet before the November board meeting, we can update we can do it as part of the committee of the whole.
Okay, so they're going to update us at the next meeting. Nick? Mr. DeFranco?
principals meetings over the next couple of days.
Okay. Sounds good.
And if we can, obviously, we'll make the necessary changes, which I think would make everybody feel better, right?
Yes.
You know, quickly with seatbelts if they know when time's not to use them.
Yeah. Okay, so we have this code of ethics for school board members. I need a motion to adopt.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Moving on to the report of the business administrator. Do we have anything else, Amy?
On the report of the business administrator, it's the financial reports for this month and the bill list.
Okay. So I need a motion to approve the bill list for September 26th, 2019 through October 28th, 2019. Sorry, I need a motion to approve B1 through 4.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions. And the report of the superintendent, do we have anything?
Yes, C1 through C7.
So moved.
Oh, I need a motion to approve C1 through C7.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed on number 1 and number 6.
Okay. And abstentions? No. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I think we're going to do the residency. I'm sorry, we're going to do residency.
Yes, we have to add an additional item. That'll
Thank
be
you.
number 9.
So that would be, so then we're adding, the addendum would be C8.
All right, thank you. And board members, I will read it into the record. This involves a student matter that was discussed in closed executive session. I'll read it in pertinent part. Whereas the Middletown Township Board of Education has a legal obligation to provide a free and appropriate education to pupils domiciled in Middletown Township, and whereas a residency status of pupil number 13883 was questioned as to that student's eligibility for continued enrollment in the Middletown Township Public Schools, whereas after considering the proofs presented by the administration and the parent on behalf of the student to a committee of the board in accordance with applicable policies and laws, and whereas those proofs presented were not sufficient to establish residency, now therefore be it resolved that the Middletown Township Board of Education hereby authorizes the removal of student 13883 from its roles, and further authorizes the administration to file any and all necessary documents with the Commission of Education to effectuate this action. Motion is
So moved. Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor? Sorry, roll call vote.
Mrs. Caminiti?
I'm abstaining.
Mr. DeFranco?
Yes.
Mr. Donlin?
Yes.
Mr. Gimo?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mrs. Minuis?
Yes.
Mrs. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Stella?
Yes.
Mrs. Rogers?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. I need a motion to approve B, or 12B1. That's just technology, yeah. So I need a motion to approve 12B1 through 3.
So moved. Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? And did we already talk about facilities?
Yes, we
Finance?
have both
Yeah,
items.
that's what I thought.
So we have first readings on policy, no action.
Okay. So I need a motion to approve E, 1 through 5.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions?
Attention on number 1.
Okay. I need a motion to approve F1 and 2.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I need a motion to approve G1, please.
So moved. Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So, moving on to personnel. I need a motion to approve 1. This is not. I'll take a motion to approve 1 through 4.
So moved. Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I'll take a motion to approve 5 through 17.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Is that it for personnel? Yep, okay. I didn't see any addendum, okay. Moving on to old business, please.
My mic doesn't work. Please take one. I want to bring up, I've been asking about co-curricular. I've been asking for an update on what's going on with teams and stuff. I don't know if anybody else saw this, but I consider mats in the wrestling room part of the curriculum. If we offer wrestling, mats should be there. But when they put it out on websites that we're not supplying mats and they need to fundraise for the mats, there's a problem here.
Well, just my question is,
Yeah.
did somebody bring it to the athletic director?
I don't know, but I've been asking for the last 3 meetings, can we please get an update? Do we need uniforms? What are we ordering?
On the portal, there is some kind of update on uniforms. Did you guys?
But why aren't we discussing it at a workshop?
No, I'm saying, did you see it? There was something.
I didn't notice it. Why aren't we discussing it at a workshop? We need to know this. We need to discuss it as a board. They're fundraising to raise wrestling mats. Do we fundraise to raise helmets? And I'm not saying it's the wrestling thing. We do, like, that's part of the curriculum, certain things that they should have.
I think that the team is fundraising to get new mats. So if I read this correctly, what they're saying is that they were looking forward to getting new mats this year, which means that it must have been on the list. And then due to budget cuts, which we're all aware of, they had limited funding to purchase new mats. So they would effectively have to go another year without the mats. And so they've taken it upon themselves to buy themselves mats and to get sponsorships for it, which is great. So, for example, I would imagine the Touchdown Club sells all the advertisements on the football field, which goes into defray the cost of the athletics.
Does it defray the cost of the football uniforms?
But the mats, I don't wear a mat. Like, these guys, the only time these guys wear a mat
You
is if
can't
there's
do
a mat.
wrestling without a mat.
Right, but you can't do football without a field.
But do they raise funds for the field?
Yes, that's what.
To purchase the
So why
first
don't
field?
why don't we bring additional information back next month?
Yes, sir.
Under the workshop?
That's all I want. I've been asking for this about what's going on, what are the.
You've been asking about wrestling?
No, not wrestling, just co-curricular. It just what happens, it's wrestling. But what's going on, haven't seen anything in the budget for co-curricular. What are we purchasing this year?
We haven't started to do the budget as it relates to the co-curricular for the coming years.
But to Leonor's point, co-curricular is a huge amount of money in our budget. There should be some kind of discussion, oversight committee, there always used to be. There's nothing, and then when you get this stuff on, people send you these kind of things in emails and stuff that people are fundraising, it looks like we're not providing for the sports that we're approving.
We'll give an update.
It's not extras, it's not like it's a warm-up suit or a pair of socks, it's a mat that they have to wrestle on.
But hang on, Joan. I just, this is not to take exception with the wrestling program because I absolutely think it's a great program.
Right.
But if the athletic director has indicated that the wrestling mat is okay to use for the season, and the wrestling team is opting to go out and get themselves a new mat.
Is that the case?
I trust our athletic director. I don't think our athletic director is out.
But
Hang on,
can we
let me
get
close
an
it.
update?
But let
Can
me-
we get, I want an update.
But so if you need an update, I understand that. I'm not decrying your desire for an update. What I'm saying is, from my perspective as a board member, I don't need an update on the wrestling mats. We hire an athletic director who I believe is very competent to handle that. I would look at that as micromanagement. Now, if the wrestling coach or the wrestling team came in here as a group, and maybe this will cause them to do that, so I'm sorry in advance. But if they came in here and said they're literally wrestling on, paper sheets, that's different. But if the athletic director says the equipment is okay, the wrestling team's just like, this is an opportunity to fundraise, I'm not gonna stop them.
I'm not advocating for the wrestling team. This is one of the teams that came up. I just want to know in general, what's going on with our sports teams? It's all other kids, cheerleading, if it's the bands, because I brought up the band because I know the uniforms are very expensive. Just in general, where do we stand? Where's the program? Where are we? Why aren't we have a workshop prior. Why aren't we having any discussion about our co-curriculum at all? That's all I'm saying. It's not about wrestling. Happens to be, if you were involved before, wrestling is near and dear to my heart, but it just happened to come up. It's not about wrestling.
Okay, we're gonna get an update next meeting. Dr. George promises.
It's more about
At the
the
workshop.
perception too. Like, if that's the case, that they don't like the mats and they want new ones, that's fine, fundraise. But when this goes out to the community, a lot of community members aren't looking at it like that. They're looking at it that we are not providing. So either, and this isn't the only team that does that, there's other teams that send out and do GoFundMes and whatever, but they're making it look like we're not providing. It's not clear that they want better than we're providing, and they're willing to go out. So it makes the district look bad when they do that. It's how they word it.
I understand.
Okay. Does anyone else have old business? I just wanted to mention, I don't know if you guys did this before I got here, but with the Taylor Lane development, the realtor did reach out to us, and we did tell them that the students who will reside at Taylor Lane will go to school somewhere in Middletown Township in the district. So we didn't specify yet, because we want to go through our strategic plan before we make the decision. So. All right, I guess moving on to new business. New business, anybody? All right, I'd like to open the mic to public comment, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Magali Melton, and I'm a parent of a student at South. I'm just going to let everybody here introduce themselves. I'm also the...
I'm sorry, if the board members could pay attention, please. Attention, please. Thank you.
I'm also the co-chair of MTFODL, the Middletown Friends of Diverse Learners. I've been co-chair since 2015. I'll just let everyone introduce themselves, and then I'll make a comment.
Hello, I want to introduce myself. I'm Heather Safford. I'm the other co-chair of MTFODL since 2015, and we're excited to share some important information about the history of our organization tonight.
Hi everyone, I'm Karen Antone. I am the former co-leader of MTFODL. I co-led the group with Stephanie Cartier from approximately 2007 till 2015. So I was invited here by Magali and Heather to just be here. They're going to talk about some of the history of the group, and so I'm available for any questions you might have, before they became the leaders of the group.
Before I get distracted with the history, I just wanted to also thank the district for all the help getting the word out about the inclusion presentation, especially with the newsletter. I mean, that's an amazing tool, and we want to invite everyone to come. We think it's going to be a great event. But thank you for that. I just did not want to forget about it. So we're here tonight to respond to a discussion that occurred at the last board meeting about the CPAG and the structure of the CPAG and the future of the CPAG. So in response to this, Heather, I, Karen and Stephanie, all the leaders, we got together and we created this document about the history of the CPAG here in Middletown. And just, we know there's a lot of new faces on the board. Our special ed director is new as well. And we wanted to have this document. We had to jog a lot of memories as to what happened. I think this explains a lot about the way we're structured, how we work, and the reasons that led us to the particular structure that we have. We are, of course, always open to growing. We're flexible. We always want to do better. And we believe we can always do better with your input and support. So, so in your packet that we distributed, there is the history of the CPAG, then we have bios, and then at the end we have the CPAG manual. The manual was a great contribution that came out. It was put out by the Department of Ed in 2018, correct? And the nice thing, well, the amazing thing is that Karen Antone was a key person in facilitating the creation of that manual. She brought together all the stakeholders. So not only in addition to having Karen here to answer questions about the history of the group, if anyone has questions about CPAGs and how they run, she also does instruction around the state as to forming CPAGs. And she can also answer any questions related to the manual. You might want to say a few words about that after I speak. So, so in saying all that, we're really happy that we're going to have a meeting this Thursday with our director and a few board members to discuss structure and future plans, etc. And we're really looking forward to that opportunity. And I think that's it for me. Heather, any words?
Did you want to talk about this, please?
I wasn't going to get into the details because it's lengthy. But why don't you say a few broad strokes? It's been, what, 12 years? Well, we started in 2007, and it's been 12 years. So do you want to get into any of the specifics?
Do you want me to?
It's late.
Yeah, it's late.
Karen, why don't you just say a couple of things and then maybe this.
When Voices started, this Voices group was run by the school district. The administrators at the time, Karen Bilbao, what was her name? Barbara Forsythe, Tracy Macia, invited parents to meet with district administrators. And those meetings, they started out with about 15 people and dwindled down very quickly because it was basically the district talking at the parents. And the purpose of CPAG is to gather parent input. How do parents feel about the special ed programs so the parents and the district can collaboratively work together to improve programs? So the parents actually split off and were able to really get parents to share information and talk about systemic issues. There was another group in the district at the time, Impact. So they met, we all met together with administrators, and if anyone's interested, we have a whole list of successes that, improving programs due to this collaborative effort. And Dr. George was a big part of the high school redesign. There's been a lot of administrative change, but there were a lot of things in the district that improved for the better. Some of the input was small things that just being brought to the attention of the district made big changes, and a lot of times didn't even cost money. So it was just really opening those lines of communication between the parents and the district staff. So my kids have all graduated, so Stephanie and I have stepped down, and Magali and Heather took over as co-leaders of the group. And from what I understand, I've also have some success stories, and parents see them as a go-to for sharing. And parents sometimes are afraid to speak openly. They're afraid of retaliation. They don't want to be known to be as a complainer, when they're really just saying, this is an issue that I have. I feel that a lot of times them sharing information and us sharing with the district has reduced litigation. Sometimes I used to go into the meetings with the administrators and say, you should be buying me a bag of fruit at Christmas for how many parents I kept from going to lawyers. By just saying, we need to talk about this, have another meeting. This is not a systemic issue, but this is what we need to do, go up the chain of command. So there's a lot of that, I'm sure, that still happens as well, where we put out some fires and, just having people understand a little bit more about how things work in the district and how you can be heard. And before you get a lawyer, you should go up to the next level and make sure you have the conversation there. So I think there's a lot of really positive things, about having this group work that way. The CPAG guide actually was developed because the state law for CPAGs is very vague. And the reason is there's, school districts with 300 students, and then there's districts with 43 schools in it. So it's really hard to say, these are your guidelines. They want the groups to develop based on the needs of the district, but the strong message is that the group should be parent-led and should be open communication between the district and parents. So, we developed the guide along those lines, and it's guidelines, it's not a law that you need to follow that, but, it's really based on information and research from groups all over the country and success stories coming from those groups. So, I hope you all have a chance to take a look at it. They just actually developed a national guide as well, and it's a nice resource for the state of New Jersey.
And they use New Jersey. Correct.
And actually, yes, and I was actually one of the people that helped develop the national guide as well. So, and I think, our group's really successful. At the time Steph and I were running it, we had 400 people on our email list. That's, about 400 families. And so you don't have that many people coming to meetings, but you do hear from people and they read our minutes and, so.
So we just have a little piece of history here if anybody wants to talk to Karen about the guide. And also it's kind of a pat on the district's back because the guide was developed on the effective practices that were begun right here in Middletown. So anyway, the trial and error.
Because also,
and eventually the success.
I helped to develop, I was a project director and helped develop these groups statewide. There are parent leader roundtables that are held every quarter where the parent leaders come together and talk about what's happening in their groups and, how to get more people involved in their groups. If there's a problem with communication with the district. So, it was really many years of working with not just Middletown, but parent leaders across the state to find out what makes these groups effective. So.
Well, thank you for your time. We look forward to our meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I wanted to add something outside of this. The strategic planning. I joined strategic planning 5 years ago because we had a great, we had a goal to improve inclusion in the district. And one of the reasons I wanted to be a part of the process was because I felt that principals need to be trained on inclusion. Principals set the climate for the schools. So if they don't understand what good inclusion looks like, then they're not going to be promoting that in their schools. And a lot of them in this district, I wouldn't say a majority, but some of them really don't understand the benefits of inclusion, not just for students with special needs, but for all students. And I would love to see them at the November 18th training. I was so happy to hear that curriculum is planning to be there, and some of the board members plan to be there as well. It's so important that our kids feel like they're part of their community. And unfortunately, I feel that Middletown is really lacking in this area. I would love to see people at least try to understand what it is and put aside their preconceived ideas of what inclusion means. And I'm hoping that it's not just going to be families of children with special needs, but all parents. are invited to this, and teachers and anyone else that can take the time to come out, because it's really important. You know, New Jersey's the 50th state in the nation for inclusion. We have more segregation than any other state in the nation. Unless things changed in the last year, that was the actual statistic. And our kids deserve to be a part of the community and not segregated and in these classrooms that, you know, there's no research anywhere that shows that self-contained classrooms are more beneficial than inclusion. And there's a lot of research that shows that inclusion benefits the outcomes and also benefits the kids that are not special needs, that just the level of training for the teachers, the universal design for learning, benefits all students. So, and then there's the kindness factor and understanding differences that also, you know, reduces bullying and has kids being kinder to each other. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi again, Rachel Konopka. I just had one quick question on something that was said during the committee reports as it related to the AP exams and the children who are opting to take the exam or not. I just noticed when looking at the North and South stats that there seems to be a bit of a discrepancy and more kids from South are, or I'm sorry, more kids from North are opting not to take the exam. I was just curious if any kind of surveying was done of the kids who are opting not to take the exam to figure out why. Is it because they don't want the added pressure? Is it because they just wanted the material and weren't looking for the college credit? Is it because it was an honors class that was folded in? Is it because of money? I just wasn't sure if there's a difference. I wasn't expecting to see such a difference between the two high schools. So I don't know if you can respond to that now, but just something I was curious about.
We have not heard of it.
Okay.
We're still processing enrollment.
Okay. So that was just one thing. And then the other thing is about strategic planning. I just wanted to thank you guys for taping the forums and making them available. I haven't had a chance to look at the other two yet. I was only able to go to one. But it was really cool as a member of the public to hear what other parents and other stakeholders in the district had to say. I think that is so valuable, not just to be able to say your piece, but hear what other people have to say. So I'm looking forward to looking at the other two videos and seeing what they said. Kind of related to that, with the survey, it came up earlier that, you know, there's, 10,000 written comments that people submitted as part of the survey. And I understand that's a beast to go through, and Schoolhouse Strategies does this for a living and has a way to kind of synthesize that data and present it to you guys in a summary form. As somebody who took a lot of time to fill out my survey, I would really appreciate it if all board members and all members of the administration had access to the raw data to look through if they want. I realize it's a lot to expect of anybody, and I don't expect everybody will read every comment, but I think we all wrote what we really felt, and in summary form, you're never going to hear the parent voices like you will if you read those comments directly. So I understand it's a lot of data, but I think there's no harm in getting both the summary and the raw data for everybody to look through if they would like to. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, seeing nobody come to the mic, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions?